welcome back. So I am just a bit late on this product, or by a bit I mean a lot late, but I figured I would test it out for you guys today. I have picked up the Juno & Co. Microfiber Velvet Sponge, so that's this little guy right here. I picked up 4. I picked up 2 pink and 2 blue. I don't think there's any difference between the pink and the blue one. I believe that they're just different colors. They both say the same thing. And I'm going to be seeing whether or not this little sponge really works. So without further ado, let's just get into the video. Okay, so before I get started with foundation, I have already concealed the spot on my cheek that I seem to have issues with. If you do or don't know, I do have a bit of a dark spot on my cheek for some reason. So before I put on foundation, I now cover it up with concealer. This is what the sponge looks like. It's just a blue, velvety looking, soft, plushy. Like, it has that couch feel to it. Mine is wet and it did get just slightly bigger. Let me open up the other one for you as a size comparison. Here is the pink one that I do not have damp, and here is the blue one that I do have damp. As you can see, it is significantly bigger than the pink one, so it does expand. The foundation I'm going to be using today is the NYX Can't Stop Won't Stop foundation. I picked this foundation because I know exactly how it puts on, whether it's with a sponge, whether it's with a brush. So I know the coverage of this foundation and it is full. So I'm going to put just about the same amount on either side and see how it goes. So on the side where I did conceal a little more, that's the side where I'm going to use my Real Technique sponge, because I don't think it's fair to judge the Juno & Co. Velvet Sponge on the side where I did give it a little more help. So I'm just going to put out enough on my face. Because yes, this one's very full coverage. So this is one layer on the left side of my face with my Real Technique sponge. Like a few little, like I do dots, so I did like a few dots on my face. The discoloration on my cheek still shows a little bit, but it's better than what it is when I don't put anything over it. So let's just get to the side for the Juno & Co. sponge. We'll put about the same amount, maybe even less, on that side, and let's get to blended. So this is one layer on the side with the Juno & Co. sponge, microfiber sponge. Honestly, I like the finish better with the Juno & Co. sponge. Like, I feel like I have texture, quite a bit of texture on my face, and I feel like it goes over my texture extremely well. It did soak up some product, but what I noticed is that if I press, it kind of, like the product kind of just sits on top of the sponge rather than sinking into it. So it kind of distributes the product more the more you like press it around. it did really well smoothing over my forehead. That was the part that I really liked, especially in comparison to the beauty sponge, or to the Real Technique sponge, is that it smoothed over the texture on my forehead really well. Now, it's not as soft on your face as the Real Technique sponge. Like, it is a bit harder when you're stamping it on your face. Like, it's not as bouncy or soft as the Real Techniques one, which, I mean, you know, the coverage thing and then the texture on my forehead, I feel like that's a better plus. I'm sorry if my mirror is in the way. It's just I don't really have a mirror that I like that's big enough where I can see all of my face, and then that's small enough that it doesn't really get in the way. Yeah, definitely covers my discoloration better than the beauty sponge. Here is my face right now with the two sponges. Honestly, I do like the Juno & Co. sponge a bit better, especially for my texture. It seems to do really well with my texture. Let's move on to concealer and see how it does. For concealer today, I'm just going to be using the L'Oreal Paris Infallible Full Wear concealer. I have tried this concealer before. I don't know if the video for this will be up, like my review on this concealer will be up either before or after this video goes up, but I guess we'll see. So I'm going to start with the side of the Juno & Co. sponge. So here is one layer of the L'Oreal concealer underneath my eyes with the velvet sponge, and it did okay. The NYX foundation for me has more of, even though it's matte, has more of a skin-like kind of look to it. It doesn't really look heavy or anything like that on a normal day, regardless of what sponge I'm using. I usually use a brush and then I smooth it over with my sponge. I usually don't use beauty sponges underneath my eyes for my concealer. What I usually use is my little concealer brush for underneath my eyes, just because I feel like it works better for me. So that's what I'm going to use. I won't really use my sponge because that's not usually what I use underneath my eyes. Let's see how it compares to my little concealer brush. I love this concealer brush. It actually is the bat, the Harley Quinn bat, and it says good night on it. Okay, so this is what my face is looking like with foundation and concealer on. And I believe that my final verdict on this bad boy right here is that I do think it is worth it. It smoothed over my texture really, really well, because texture is a problem that I do have, especially on my forehead, and my forehead doesn't look as textured or as weird as it usually does. I don't think that my smile lines are any better or any worse with this sponge. Another good thing that I did notice is that this foundation, I already know how it works, and it is pretty skin-like, even though it's a matte foundation. It's not a dry, cakey matte. And the Juno & Co. sponge kind of just pressed the foundation more into my skin to where it almost looks even more skin-like, which I can appreciate, especially in comparison to the Beauty Blender side. It did give a bit of a fuller coverage than the Beauty Blender side. Do I think it's the best sponge in the entire world? No, but I do believe that it does work, and I think if you're looking for a sponge that's not the $20 beauty blender. They're both $6, the Real Techniques one, and then the Juno & Co. They're both $6. So I guess it really depends. I think you could go for either one. Personally for me, I feel like what I would do is I would use it over all of my textured areas, so like my forehead, that patch right here on my cheek. I wouldn't necessarily use it for my under eyes. I think I'll just stick with my concealer brush that I usually use. So I feel like if you're looking for a good beauty sponge, I would go with either one, either the Real Techniques or the Juno & Co. sponge. 8 out of 10 on this sponge. I feel like if you want to try it, go ahead, because it does work. Honestly, the side right here where I used it just looks really good. So yeah, I don't know what else to say about it. I think that the sponge is worth $6. I mean, it's not a lot, and it seems like they do packages and deals where you can get a couple of them for a few dollars cheaper than buying them individually. Those are my final thoughts. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, comment down below, ask me anything you want to ask me. The review for this concealer the concealer I used in this video should already be up. So if you haven't watched that, go ahead and do that. But until next time, guys, bye.